YouTube comments from a video titled, "It's Not Just You." Everyone hates Starbucks now.
At KLAM7751 wrote,
I continue to only order through the app or through drive-through because that's who they prioritize. I stood at the counter inside for 15 minutes waiting for someone to come take my order. Would have been quicker to just sit down and order through the app.
At Sweetie_fruit wrote,
I mean, you up the price and lower the quantity and quantity. On top of it, you're making your franchise basically pay 2 to 3x the money you pay yourself only to be a Starbucks. And not like it's all or enough. The employees are treated like robot who's supposed to have no life.
At Marcus Nolte 7476 wrote,
There was absolutely nothing wrong with the original idea and Starbucks itself for most of its existence. Only when they began to overtly dabble into politics it went downhill fast.
At Studebaker 4217 wrote,
First time in a London, UK Starbucks around 1995. The coffee was awful. So I complained and was sent a free pack of more awful coffee. Only been back once, under duress. The idea of giving your name to buy a cup of coffee was so twee and far too American for me. I read H. Schultz's book, and the concept was sound, but the US fast food mindset screwed it completely.
At Todorobin wrote,
Starbucks added value as a third place because it was warm and inviting to congregate. I knew of a few other coffee shops like this. I think the downfall of this type of coffee place was Americans valuing convenience and takeaway over dine-in, as well as trying to push back against students and digital workers who may overstay their welcome in the eyes of the coffee shop owners. I remember reading about one coffee shop owner removing electric outlets to put a limit on how long people could use their devices there, but cited the cost of electricity as making this decision mere pennies. Starbucks, in catering to takeout and drive-through over a comfortable dine-in environment, has destroyed the one thing that is the entire value of a coffee shop, because brewing at home isn't that hard comparatively. Even if you splurged for the $1,000 espresso machine, you'd make your money back over going to Starbucks daily in less than a year. More if there are more coffee drinkers in your house, and you don't have to go anywhere. Coffee houses were popularized in the Enlightenment and revolutionary times in the USA, because it was a place to meet and share ideas, so much so that in Benjamin Franklin's time they were called penny universities. Now they are just a place to mindlessly consume. No social capital, just empty social signaling through social media.
At JTB Speaks wrote,
Near me, there was a Starbucks in a very busy and iconic part of Northwest Chicago in Wicker Park, the intersection of Damon, North Avenue, Milwaukee. It closed. I have no idea if it's due to shutting down a unionization drive or people hate it so much. There's a lot of really good coffee shops also close by, so I'm happy that with Starbucks dying, it's a chance for smaller shops to rise.
At I Hate Myself 303 wrote,
I personally love sitting down in a coffee shop with my friend for an hour. But the ambience has to be there. I hate corporate grage. Also, Mocha Pot is fire.
At I Hate Myself 303 wrote,
Starbucks charges a premium price for burnt beans. You can get an extremely high-quality cup of coffee or latte for cheaper at a local coffee shop. Their scale could allow them to adopt a Walmart pricing model that would bring people in, but of course that would mean less profit per purchase. The horror that on top of the union busting and dreary atmosphere, they just have nothing to offer. Hipsters made Starbucks famous, and they became the anti-hipster.
At Matoo_Yap wrote,
When I was a tween 2013, going to Starbucks with my mom during big shopping trips at the mall was a special treat. It stayed that way for years, but now it's like Dunkin' to me, but not as innovative with drink flavors. Also now consumers are more likely to have an espresso machine and the know how to replicate these drinks.
At AUD 9931 wrote,
The problem is that they made their goal infinite growth, which is an impossible goal, and shifted their mindset away from what actually made them successful in the first place, building a place for community, which is fundamentally incompatible with infinite growth. They are being killed by their own greed, plain and simple.
At Lisa 77777 wrote,
A box of 20 Timbits is around 5 PO in T19 CAD. ONE cake pop that is not even fresh costs 3 PO in T45. Each Timbit is the same size as Starbucks cake pops. I get they are different products, but it's funny how Starbucks thought they'd get away with this BS for so long.
at Emilio RBYODI wrote,
I live in Eastern Europe, and in the historical/medieval area of my city, there is a Starbucks and some cafes. Both have cushioned chairs and nice interiors, but Starbucks is like 10% more expensive and gives your drinks in one-use cups, while the cafes have waiters that bring your coffee in a ceramic cup. I should mention that tipping culture is not as big as in the US, and even for a good service, you give like 10%, so it is still not as expensive as Starbucks. Most of the customers of Starbucks are high schoolers or foreign tourists.
at Gwyn2528 wrote,
I hadn't been in a Starbucks for over 10 years and found myself in one recently. It's not as cozy and chill as it used to be. And a house coffee is no longer $1.
at Freddie Mendez 855 wrote,
What I find crazy as someone who's from Brooklyn, NY, is finding people at Starbucks in NYC. There are so many independent coffee shops around that have better vibes and actually want you to stay there to read or do homework.
at Bully Dungeon 9631 wrote,
Thank you for describing them as a fast food dessert place. That's been my argument for a long time. They were stupid and aimed and record-setting profits within the fast food industry that was more comparable to tech stocks and completely destroyed themselves. Very annoying.
at David CM4DR wrote,
There is no way Luckin is replacing Starbucks. I remembered their sandal in China like it was yesterday. They are cheap shots that sells crappy coffee and market it as if it's top-tier stuff, and they bombard my MSG with ads every fking month since I had a coffee 7 years ago. This is a fking joke.
at Condorb 7756 wrote,
How am I supposed to trust someone when their example of a coffee company that does well is Luckin Coffee? Luckin Coffee faked about $300 million in 2019 sales using fake transactions and coupon redemptions. Executives inflated both revenue and expenses to hide the fraud. Weak internal controls let top management manipulate numbers unchecked. The scam misled investors, leading to major losses and SEC fines. Result: CEO fired, NASDAQ delisting, and $180 million penalty for accounting fraud.
Coob1413 wrote,
Hey man, the video is great, but you should hire a voiceover guy. Your tone and speech pattern are not good. You read a single word with two different tones, as if you're two people. The whole video seems like one long run-on sentence.
at Jake76667 wrote,
I'm not a Starbucks hater because I do enjoy going there from time to time. This morning, I ordered a small vanilla latte and a croissant for breakfast. And when I enjoying it, I did notice some problems with them. For one, when you order a hot brew like I did this morning, even though I enjoy hot brew and cold brew coffee equally, it comes out too hot for my tastes, and they got to expand their menu to include donuts and hash browns to stay being competitive. And they obviously got to start treating all of their baristas and their in general employees better.
as Zinison Rhymes wrote,
There are 4 Starbucks in close proximity to where I live. I never see long lines, very few people inside and fewer in the patio areas. No surprise they are shutting down stores and laying people off. I'm not a coffee person, and Starbucks is a business I've always boycotted for other reasons. I hope they go completely under.
At Lenny Batts wrote,
Starbucks has been overrated since the beginning. People running around acting like getting Starbucks made them look special were just obnoxious to be around because they would tell you how they couldn't start their day without being seen with their overpriced grande mocha bunny flip with light foam.
The Table Slam wrote,
For me, I just drink less coffee than I used to, so I'd like to actually enjoy the coffee I do drink. I drink my coffee black, and every person I've met who drinks their coffee black also thinks Starbucks tastes awful. When you drink coffee black, there's no way to hide burnt beans smothering it in sugar and flavorings. Every single time I've gotten Starbucks, from multiple locations, the coffee tasted like it was brewed with burnt beans. I concluded that if it tastes that way no matter which store I get it from over several years, that's just what their coffee tastes like, and I think it's gross. So I stopped going there.
At _Gallowglass wrote,
You drank coffee for the caffeine, not for fun? Come on. People like the coffee too. Americans already had coffee as part of social life. It just wasn't Italian itty-bitty shot glass espresso culture. It wasn't just drip coffee, it was also percolator coffee, which isn't that different from mocha pots. Here, it was bigger cups, part of a meal, or offered at someone's house while you actually had time to sit and talk. Coffee wasn't just a quick jolt. It was conversation, hospitality, and part of daily life. Saying it was just for the caffeine is nonsense. I know you're young and from the UK, so I'll give you a get-out-of-jail-free card on this one, just this once.
At Zenbo wrote,
So profits being down 50% for a single quarter now means a business is struggling? I checked their income statement, and they are still making profits overall. Look at it annually.
Pink Gobi wrote,
The interiors used to be a place to get coffee and snacks and hold up for a few hours. When people do that, they tend to order more, invite friends who order, etc. Now the inside is a freezing grey box with 3 stools. Who wants to go there?
THNDUO for VP wrote,
Their coffee has to be expensive because their employees make too much money for making coffee. The employees don't know that in business labor is the most expensive spend. Like other fast food places, a high school/college job has turned into a career.
At Brother Earth 1625 wrote,
This might be the case in the US, but it's expanding in the UK. Fewer independent coffee places, especially in London. And their only competition is Costas and Cafe Nero, which really aren't comparable, quality-wise at least.
At its _Dia wrote,
I can appreciate that you mentioned methamphetamine in comparison to coffee. When I was quitting my morning cup of joe a year ago, I had become extremely depressed. It was really bad, so I went to a mental health facility. It was an emergency because I was crying all day and could barely function. The dear I talked with nailed down that it was the caffeine. She asked me if I was aware it was a light form of meth and people have committed self-murching over trying to quit too fast. I was shocked. She told me to wean off slow because coffee is a controlled substance that has serious side effects.
At Sage Oldman 5157 wrote,
Starbucks has to be the worst tasting coffee on the planet, right next to Dunkin' Donuts. Most people will never know the difference because they continue to be told that Starbucks is good coffee. It's horrible.
At Kambooks 2000 wrote,
I am a coffee fiend. Just love the stuff. I have never understood this fascination with Starbucks. The taste is just strange, like it's brewed using old dishwater or river runoff. It's evidence that advertising is really effective at making people believe bull ain't shit and bad is good.
At Zach_Oro wrote,
Why do I have to feel like a jacker for just wanting to get a cup of coffee? $7 is like an insult to my face, bro. We got a boycott immediately. Super bad look.
At Ragnar_1.618 wrote,
This is a long way of saying the boycott is working. PPL stopped going there BC. They send a big percentage of their profits to support G3N0 side in Palestine.
Bether wrote,
Starbucks really shot themselves on the foot when they raised prices. I bought coffee making kit for the office and got a very fancy beans to cup machine for home. Saved me a fortune compared to going out.
At Ada H wrote,
I'm just curious, how are people / markets viewing Coffee Bean? My university technically has both, but the Starbucks is too far away for me to reasonable walk to compare to the Coffee Bean centralized on campus. I think ultimately, greed and shitty business and social policies and practice decisions led to Starbucks being hated so much.
Pokemon Coordinatory wrote,
It's almost like if you price out an entire consumer group of people, you might just lose out on a lot of money. The middle class built America. And yet we're the ones left out in the cold. And we can't even afford a nice cup of joe to stave it off.
At Lavender Chai 4612 wrote,
I live near an Arab-populated town, and let me tell you, the coffee there is so much better. The interior feels so high class, and they're open till midnight and later during Ramadan. I'm so happy Starbucks is going down. And I'm happy that I live near these better cafes.
At Increasingly_anxious wrote,
Why would I pay nearly $8 for one drink that likely won't taste right, when I can go to the gas station and grab 2 cans of energy drinks for less? It's still fast, and it's more for my dollar. Or I make my own cold brew at home. They offer nothing worthwhile anymore.
At Greg 01E7V wrote,
My favorite is Dutch Bros Coffee Drive-Thru. They are friendly, have better coffee, and many sugar-free options, and do fundraisers for local communities. It's always enjoyable to go there.
At Tyrone Jackson 832 wrote,
You're in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I am under the impression that the Dunkin' Donuts stores prefer drive-thru. This is based on the times that I've gone into their shops and get ignored. I've walked out a number of times after standing there without any of the staff acknowledging my presence after several minutes. I do not need to work hard to have companies take my money.
At Tyrone Jackson 832 wrote,
They should stop asking me to tip their associates for the sandwich that I picked up and brought to the counter. BTW, pouring coffee into a cup does not deserve a 25% tip either.
At Silent Beep wrote,
People still want community, but not at those prices, and not at that low quality. They can get community at the indie coffee shop. They can get better coffee at the indie shop too.
At Slutty Alvin wrote,
Ex-Starbucks barista here. Starbucks was one of my first real jobs when I was 18 to 19. It used to be a cool place to work. They had much more lenient/generous benefits. I remember the free food and drink items during the pandemic, something that costed them virtually nothing, that they rolled back in 2022. Then, the union busting. Supporting genocide was the last straw, rightfully so. They failed to innovate, they let down their working class customer base with union busting, and their rewards are ass. Starbucks thrived off of the culture that it created around itself, even if it was a facade. They thought they were irreplaceable, but they were just a third place with decent vibes and with fee. Greedy fucks.
At Jeku 4688 wrote,
Have disliked Starbucks for years because of their stupidly high prices, their hideously woke political views, and the fact that they have built their completely unnecessary coffee stores in and around some of the most iconic places in the world, like the Great Wall of China, inside the Empire State Building, and on top of a mountain in Squaw Valley, California. Really? Not to mention that by pushing their way into these global locations, they're force-feeding the world the worst of Americanism. Rather than letting the local culture speak for itself. Nothing against America. I live here. But when I go to another country, I don't want to see an all too ubiquitous Starbucks on every corner and in every alleyway, especially in places like Italy, where real espresso is a way of life. As well, shoehorning Starbucks stores and kiosks into every nook and cranny of American life is both disgusting and disheartening. They're inside Target stores, inside local malls, inside major/minor corporations, inside medical offices/facilities, etc. They are literally everywhere. They have become the Xerox or Kleenex of coffee, or perhaps like cockroaches. Case in point, where I once lived outside of Dallas, TX. There were literally 3 to 4 Starbucks within a 1.0 5-mile radius of where I lived, inside the 2 Targets close by, at the outside mall, inside my local medical office, and as an individual drive-up shop where the traffic/line was always insane, of course. So my hope of finding a great mom and pop coffee shop in my community was completely squelched by this coffee behemoth. Needless to say, I hate them. And I will do everything I can to promote and purchase from local coffee houses and roasteries. Every FAD, every company has its beginning, its popular high point, and its demise. And I think this is the E&D for Starbucks. At least, I hope.
At DuckBoyGuru 6164 wrote,
I work at Starbucks. It's not only consumers that are frustrated, it's the employees as well. This bullshit about returning to the third place is too late already. The way they tried to implement it is horrendous. We ALL have to write on every cup, or we get fired, or a write-up. We have to spark up a conversation with every customer we see, and have to get the drinks out fast. Like 35 seconds drive-through fast. Not possible when the new drinks coming out all have cold foam and a million steps. For example, the new protein lattes. The banana protein matcha has 3 scoops of protein powder and 2 scoops of banana powder in the foam. It is utterly disgusting, slimy, and thick. Everything just feels so disingenuous.
Mknonia wrote,
The Starbucks I find are like a out-of-office buyout of e-house workspace for people. People rarely gather for fun. They usually come and sit for hours with a basic coffee and work. And a lot of the lattes, I don't mean the frappuccinos, I mean the coffees made with milk, are like $7 including tip, as opposed to a few years ago a small latte or even frappuccino was like $5 with tip. I wouldn't mind the new atmosphere if the prices weren't so crazy, but looking at the smaller coffee places near me, they are pretty much all the same prices. It's ridiculous.
Page 3PR1 wrote,
Outside of the political stuff associated such as boycotts, Starbucks is very dirty. The tables are dirty, the chairs are dirty, the equipment is dirty, the people working there are dirty. It feels gross to go there.
Coolthings_1 wrote,
There's 3 coffee spots in my town. 2 independents and a drive-through Starbucks, and the difference is night and day. This Starbucks has minimal seating, and it feels bland and corporate. The local spots have their own themes and feel more welcoming. One is for young creative types, and the other is more bougie and minimalistic.
Pishy1990 wrote,
After the large amount of money that their CEO Brian Niccol spent on their Newport Beach, California office just for him, I'm not surprised that they have to close locations to foot that bill. I stopped going a while back. 6 po in T25 for a grande latte. Yeah, nah.
At Honeyval3311 wrote,
I refuse to buy Starbucks. I refuse to drink Starbucks. I refuse to have anything to do with them because I have personally been in a Starbucks where the coffee makers, the counter help, because that's what they are counter. Help started oinking as soon as police officers came into their establishment. They made all kinds of pig and hog sounds, and when I realized what they were doing, I turned and walked out right behind the police officers who opted not to buy anything. I will never go to Starbucks again. And see if enough people does it, maybe they'll get the message that we're tired of your demonic company doing the devil's work, hiring people to be rude to conservatives. I'm wondering, do they spit in our coffees?
Fulmer89 wrote,
Starbucks stopped trying to be a third place to hang out, so I stopped going. I don't want coffee in a soulless corporate warehouse with uncomfortable stools to sit on.
A JTM25 wrote,
The greed of US companies will be their downfall. Chinese companies are coming for their lunch because they're too focused on shareholders and exec pay rather than what their customers want.
Espringent Fialta 106 wrote,
So we went from families eating together at coffee shops like Denny's to a bunch of people alone in a crowd getting their specialty drinks, and that was somehow supposed to represent the Italian experience?
At Marcus Magellan wrote,
I have a Starbucks across the street from where I live. I still go there because the staff seems so happy and friendly. I guess it all depends.
At Chrissy23 wrote,
I used to love Starbucks, but the prices have become absurd. My hubby surprised me with an espresso maker, and now I brew even better coffee at home for way less. Plus, it's fun to make specialty coffees for guests.
At Lavalve1908 wrote,
Dutch Bros is consistent. That was that man reason I stopped going. Even Way-Good coffee is better than Starbucks. Starbucks stopped being consistent in their products, leading to always have them remake the drinks. Yes, the rewards as well ridiculous.
At Phil WS5JP wrote,
I live in Manchester, UK. The Starbucks stores in the city centre are all quieter now. I hardly use them now as the tea is so weak and tasteless, and the fruit loaf is not as good taste-wise now. I prefer Costa Coffee, whose tea is better and the rewards are more useful.
At Arv Redacted wrote,
When they charge crazy prices for a damn tea, yeah, I'm not surprised they're struggling. For the price of one cup, I can buy a box of the same tea and make it at home.
As Sean FX wrote,
I hate these companies and their greedy love for endless profit growth. Enough is enough. Stop with this BB, but Shari Ho eld s madness. They always just pass the increased cost on to us.
At Eric Scott 9029 wrote,
No surprise, their rewards system sucks. They took a crappy political stance. There isn't much available to buy from their stores, and their coffee is very bitter tasting.
At Dr. Tran 1 wrote,
I live in NYC, and you can literally just go to a coffee cart or deli and get coffee for $1, $3. It why people are willing to spend almost $10 on shit coffee.
At Cole Brother 127 wrote,
547. I'm not a Starbucks customer, but I have worked as a DoorDash driver. I've done a lot of pickups from my local Starbucks, and even though most people are just buying a drink or two, it takes forever to get the order, and half the time the staff completely ignored me to try to get to as many drive-through orders as possible. It didn't bother me since I was getting paid either way. But if I was just a regular customer, I would have been very annoyed if it took 15 to 20 minutes just to make a vanilla latte. It makes a quick stop for coffee an annoying and irritating experience, and people then don't remember the coffee. They remember the bad customer service instead, so they stop going.
At Nika Wolf wrote,
Worked for Starbucks for a decade. Started during the 2008 recession, and store environment was more geared to creating their third place setting. I worked and lived through many changes. Ultimately left due to decline on customer-oriented business and this big push for drive-through design. Also left due to be screwed out of promotions time and time again, probably from me being a gay man not afraid to call out bad management practices.
@now_chemical wrote,
I was loyal to Starbucks minus some trips to the local cafe when I needed to do work. 2010 to 2023, when I found Big B Coffee near me, and now 7 Brew. I have a lot of dietary sensitivities, and they just suck at that, while plenty of other chains and local shops will work with you or have the options readily available online to see. I miss what Starbucks was, but am happy to move on and welcome the spread of these alternative options near me.
@JerSprite9867 wrote,
I work in a ASB franchise. DM got laid off like last week. I'm not technically a Starbucks employee. BC, I work in a franchise location, but yeah, it's kinda bad. They keep us all understaffed but want impossible times. We put in tech tickets for our broken hot water and floors that are ruined and silence. That's a SB decision. My store cannot touch it without permission. I am the only person in my entire kiosk half the time I work. As for the actual taste of Starbucks, man, ick. I just work there. I have like zero strong opinion on if it's bad or good tasting, but I can tell you fewer and fewer people care about the gimmick of the pumpkin spice or seasonal drinks when they are an extra $2. Also, my personal coffee choice isn't even my own Starbucks store. People complain about pricing, which is so fair. I saw an espresso shot go from 80 cents to 1 PO in T50 in the time I've worked there. I said so often that SB is the MC Donald's of coffee to my coworkers and friends. Not in a bad way, just in an honest way. It's mediocre quality, but you used to find them anywhere, so why not? It's incredibly frustrating to witness my coworkers and manager getting stressed. BC, we can no longer have full-time employees with how they cut wages. Part of that is the store, the other part is SB. Like being tugged in 2 different directions at the same time. I'm lucky to not have to worry about my job though. I'm protected by my store and only wanted a part-time job anyway through high school and college. But we can tell it's going down as employees. I wonder when companies will learn that the general public doesn't really want AI in every part of their lives. It's an underdeveloped product shipped far too early to consumers with too many ethical concerns.
Camelamelina wrote,
They're opening a new Starbucks in my small town where we only have a McDonald's and 1 Dunkin's in Massachusetts and 3 to 5 local coffee shops in our town that are very loyal customers, so I think they aren't going to make much profit here.
@JenniferC26 wrote,
It's not even just the prices. Their coffee just really isn't that good. I believe people only buy it so they can walk around showing off the logo like it's a status symbol. Call me crazy, but in my opinion, MC Donald's has better coffee for half the price. It's just overpriced and not that good. That explains the decline.
@Saul9832 wrote,
Since I found out about the Israel support, I stopped. Got myself an espresso machine and learned how to make coffee like cold brews, pour-overs, etc. Best decision ever and saved $.
@Dedadevil wrote,
I was contemplating getting a coffee from my local Costa. I know it's not Starbucks, but point still stands. This afternoon, because they're quite nice, but Jimmy's iced coffee is like 4 or 5 times cheaper from the shop, and most of the people I talk to are online anyway.
@SideArmSalfa wrote,
I would only go when they had good offers, and those are few and far between now. $6 plus for a handcrafted drink is too much. They do have the free birthday drink, which is nice, but I supported them enough to deserve that. Hopefully they'll wise up and lower their prices or offer good deals again.
@5600 Block wrote,
The people that go to and work at Starbucks is what made me never want to go. The coffee is okay, Normal prices compared to other coffee houses, but other coffee houses look nice and are comfortable where there's professional people working and ordering. Starbucks is like the Walmart version of they, except everyone they goes there and works there thinks they are better than everyone else, even though they are at Starbucks.
At Jasmine, V2P wrote,
Coffee tastes so much better for me when I make it myself or go to a mom and pop shop where people seem to like their job or are really good at acting like it at least. I live in Colorado and frequent a place called Solar Roast. The coffee is consistent and great.
At Mark Pena 266 wrote,
I make coffee at home or do the free coffee at work. I spend money on syrup, creamer, and sweeteners to make the coffee how I like. I've ordered maybe 4 to 5 coffees from a coffee shop in the last year strictly out of convenience.
At Eleanor 7975 wrote,
They decided they wanted the most profit per minute and removed seating in a lot of the stores so people could just get in and get out. People like having a cozy environment, a second home, whether it's to meet friends or study, and they ruined that.
At Sebastian Fernandez 6146 wrote,
Starbucks is the most egregious company to work and be a customer at. They treat their employees like crap and their customers like fools. I don't mind paying $9 for a good latte, but with good beans and a real espresso machine at a real cafe.
At Stefan Enzer 9385 wrote,
Their quality is in freefall while their prices continue to balloon. They don't even give out star deals anymore, so why go? I can tell quality is in a downward spiral because the same drinks I've gotten for years turn out terrible now, so something has gone funky with their process or ingredients.
At Dawsey 1000 wrote,
Starbucks managed to piss off the right and the left. The right for being too woke, whatever that means, and the left by union busting. Since they've pissed off literally everyone besides loaded tech bros, they don't have any customers anymore.
At the Spam Muncher wrote,
Starbucks is garbage. They don't taste good. Their black coffee tastes dry. I got black coffee at a Black Rifle place, and it tastes like good black coffee should.
At Andrew Lanham 1372 wrote,
Just last year, Starbucks opened in Cork at TX. Started out great. Then suddenly they are closing at PM2. On a fucking Saturday? Last week, they took the sign down and it's now closed. Didn't even make it a year. About 1 block away is a mom and pop drive-through coffee spot, always packed.
At H9583 Cutchage 3F wrote,
Macau here, extremely disappointed with Starbucks. Our group of 5 ordered food and drinks, but were forced to leave because of an outside beverage, while other non-paying customers were allowed to stay. The store was nearly empty. Inconsistent and rude policy enforcement. We won't be back. Good luck on closing more stores, especially Asia.
Codfather wrote,
I work in IT, and whenever I study for new certifications, I've been preferring local cafes over Starbucks over the past year. I don't even go to the Starbucks at my college campus anymore.
At Chilopotamus wrote,
I stopped going to Starbucks when Dutch Bros opened up a spot near me. I feel like I get much more bang for my buck, even though it's still pricey. I can actually taste coffee, even in their very sugary seasonal drinks, and the rewards program is a lot more customer-friendly than Starbucks was. Anecdotally, I see a lot more people drinking DB than I do Starbucks these days.
At Angry Moth 12 wrote,
As a former employee, I just can't forgive them for how they treat their workers. They always forced us between a rock and a hard place, then acted like we were the problem for being put into lose-lose situations with customers. I won't hate someone for getting a drink from there. For me, though, the brand is simply built off of too much bad.
At Sarah Randall 6383 wrote,
If you're on the West Coast, I highly recommend Dutch Bros over Starbucks. It's been making its way down Cali from Washington and Oregon, and their options are so much better.
At Gloomy_Gus wrote,
Their digital payment system should be illegal. Let me just pay what I owe. You shouldn't be allowed to force me to refill my card with predetermined increments.
Ting280 wrote,
There was one on the way to work, so I stopped by to get 2 breakfast sandwiches and a drink. The drink was ready immediately. The sandwiches took like 10 to 15 minutes. Not only was I late for work, I got eyeballed like a weirdo by what felt like 100 people because I was standing around the pickup area for so long after I had my drink. I tried again at the same location and then at a completely different location in a different part of the city and had the exact same experience all 3 times.
Estefs40 wrote,
Oh, it's a lot more than just people not wanting to go and finding cheaper alternatives to Starbucks. Because of the death of Tupuesa CEO Charlie Kirk and the fact that people are coming to Starbucks and specifically order the Mint Majesty tea with 2 honeys in his honor, and the unhinged reactions from some of the baristas, people just don't want to go there. People are afraid of someone spitting in their cup or having a nasty message put on their cup. I'd rather go to the local Ziggy's and get a cup of tea there instead.
At Authentic Apparel 1906 wrote,
America is a capitalistic society. And with capitalism comes greed. To appease shareholders, Starbucks has to constantly show revenue growth. And they do this by raising the prices.
And Nico Hawks wrote,
All these legacy behemoths struggling to stay open because of self-inflicted customer churn due to enshittification to chase increased margins is a curious sight to behold. If I was a Chinese chain like Luckin right now, I'd be preparing for aggressive expansion once it all falls apart. The American retail space could look very different a decade from now.
And Not That Bob wrote,
I'm not even sure Starbucks uses real coffee in their drinks these days. Don't believe me? Go to Starbucks, order an espresso. Go to another good coffee shop and order the same. Where I live, Starbucks tastes like crap in comparison. They put so much flavoring in the drinks, they think no one will miss the coffee. My daughter has always been a Starbucks fan. She shocked me last visit when she refused to go into a Starbucks. That for me was a sign the company is going to fold.
At Dynath1 wrote,
I think there is a real space available in the market for a sit-down Starbucks business. Fundamentally, it can't stand on its own, but it can operate alongside drive-through focused business models. For all the talk about how drive-throughs are crushing in-store sales, there are still a lot of people who want sit-down experiences. Whether it's family or friend time together or just to get away, sit down is still desirable, particularly for older adults. As long as boomers and Gen Xers in the US have some capital to spend on luxuries, a sit-down cafe has some appeal. I'm sure it will become deprioritized as the market ages out. Not everyone is lucky enough to live near boutique coffee shops, and even if their prices, hours of operations, and local challenges like location or parking often make those stores more work to deal with than a basic Starbucks. And honestly, for all the boutique shops I've been to, I haven't really been much more impressed with their drinks than Starbucks. At least not so much it justifies spending 20 minutes finding a parking spot and walking a couple blocks to stare at handwritten chalk menus describing why their bespoke drinks are unique and quirky. Your point about coffee culture in Europe is important. They are accessible, both in design and price. None of the alternatives are really more accessible than Starbucks, they are just different hurdles.
At Jabals 23 wrote,
I think this is a normal trend now amongst all the companies. They're trying to see what they can get away with so that way they can raise their prices a little bit above what they can. Of course, the company is always going to chase a profit, but they're trying so hard they end up losing customers in the process. From what I observed, the trick is to not do what they're doing. AKA, don't try and treat your customers like test subjects, and they'll come back.
@Ted_Michaels wrote,
Why would I spend money to get their liberal agenda shoved in my face? Why would I spend $6 to buy a cup of coffee from some liberal, blue-haired, entitled, activist, evil freak who hates me? Most Starbucks employees would be delighted if I got shot in the head.
Carol Downing LM7FM wrote,
Honestly, I've always thought Starf CKS was overrated. They talk about diversity about then stores can't agree on their own policies law. I don't even buy their beverages in stores anymore.
Sean O'Grady F5H wrote,
I had a certain age Starbucks fired me saying I was not doing a good job after 2 years, and on top of that they cut off my unemployment, and I sued them because that was illegal, and they had to pay me $21,000, in other words my unemployment rolled over 4 times, and in that time I took in and quasi-adopted a Starbucks kid who was living in the streets.
@Great2831 wrote,
A lot of fast food places are plain terrible for the average consumer. On average, they offer a slow, inconsistent, and low-quality service and product, but price themselves at the same level as local restaurants who actually care about the quality of the product. The only way people are still buying from fast food places is that they actually like the slop from each fast food place, or they are too stubborn/lazy to look for a local alternative.
@Diary of a Virtuous Woman wrote,
Worked there 2019 to 2021, and it was so fun. After the lockdown from the pandemic, it was never the same. Crazy long customizations and mobile ordering turned it into drive-through only, and it no longer had a coffee shop vibe where people came to grab a coffee and relax. The store used to close at 10 p.m. throughout the week and 11 on weekends. After COVID, the store started closing at 6 p.m. also. Now at my local Starbucks, you cannot get a water without purchasing a drink.
Kendall M0219 wrote,
In my area in the Midwest, Starbucks is actually the cheapest alternative. All local coffee shops are at least 20% more expensive. We used to have 2 Starbucks in my city, and one of them closed, and the one that's still open is 1/8 as busy as it was before. Their lunch rush now is like 15 people, when I recall it used to be like 200 people. I used to avoid going there around lunchtime, when kids get off of school, 5 o'clock, when everyone got off of work. If I wanted anything, I'd have to go at like 10 am, or between 7 to 8 p.m. When they butchered their rewards program during COVID, it started their downfall in my eyes. Then they started participating in war and genocide, and my whole city said no thanks. Now we have a record number of local coffee shops opening, and they're all thriving. But alas, I have nowhere to go, because I'm not a coffee person, and it's very rare for me to get coffee in general. I'm more of a tea alternative and a sandwich person.
Ghoststream wrote,
Cafes shouldn't become big and corporate. The idea of a coffee house is supposed to be cozy and personal. Starbucks stopped being that as soon as they started opening too many stores and became closer to overpriced fast food.
John Relier wrote,
SB over roasts their coffee. That's why every cup has that burnt undertone flavor. So this is why I now roast my own coffee. For the past 10 years, I currently have a 2 kilograms roaster. I can produce 8 kilograms per hour, with consistent results without that burnt undertone flavor. Also, SB roasts their coffee at 500 degrees F, also known as flash roasting, which can release volatile compounds like acrylamide, which is a known carcinogen.
@Nicolum889 wrote,
Prices are high, but in the chart you could see that Chipotle sales are up. It's probably about healthy ingredients rather than prices. Maybe people do not want a 600-calorie drink anymore. I still go to Starbucks all of the time, but I do not get flavored ladies. I get Americanos, which is definitely less. Are customers not showing up, or are they paying less per visit?